My presentation will be very simple, very little information. I'm just about to give a framework of my ideas, and you can fill in the gaps later on. So, first of all, I'd like to notice that when we operate, you know that we compare information that we're receiving from our senses with the information that we have from our previous experience. Now, the information that we possess, it's not static, rather it's dynamic. You know, our brain does this sometimes. It interprets the pieces that we have and combines them into new images, beliefs, and fears. And the more different fears, images, and beliefs and ideas we cover, the more effective stories we create. And as communicators, you know that it's all about the most compelling story that we can tell, yeah? So that's because of this banal truth, I'm going to present a version of how to analyze this public versus media relationship. Okay, now, PowerPoints, I have to admit, they puzzle me. They puzzle me because on one hand, switching your attention from text to speech, it does not help you to remember. On the other hand, one has to fully experience the new information to grasp the essence of it. So that is why I will leave you with a framework, not trying to explain everything, but rather leaving you with more questions than answers. Okay, now, what I want to talk to you is about how to operate this thingy, because it does not change the slide. Excuse me? Guys in the front, it does not change the slide.
I'll listen, maybe use microphone more
closer. Yeah? It's okay?
Closer.
Next slide.
You hear in the back? Oh yeah, now we have the new slide. It refers to the ultimatum game. Well, in this game, one player divides a pot of money between himself and the other player, while the other chooses whether to accept the offer. If he rejects the offer, neither player benefits. Well, scholars in different countries have noticed a tendency that around half of the receivers turn down the offers that are under 30% of the pot. Now, there are many, many versions of this game, or this socioeconomic game, and they all show that we are not rational. We have a sense of fairness and an unwillingness to accept injustice. We consciously reject unfair relationships. Let's do this again. Two main points. When we evaluate relationships in general, we do this sometimes. We do not analyze the whole cycle, we compartmentalize. We take separate fragments, and we usually struggle to see the picture, the big picture, the perspective in the long run. Now, in the ultimatum game, we know that each side wants to get as much money as they can, and still they want to be treated fairly and equally by the other side. That's rather strange, I say. That's a utopia. Now, let's turn towards the existing relationship between the media and the people. If I asked you, don't worry, I will not ask you because it's much easier to speculate than to investigate. But if I asked you what do you want to get out of the relationship, out of your relationship with the media, I would expect to hear something like accurate information in a timely fashion, or entertainment, or meaningful insights, etc. And do you notice how passive these intentions are? We'll come back to that in a moment. But the media, it does have some expectations, doesn't it? To say that it wants to make money, it would be to oversimplify things, okay? But let's work on this. Let's call the businessman who has the money a patron, okay? So this patron, he has a product or a service, and he wants us, the consumers, to start buying and using it. It's rather simple. You know that, I know that. But what the patron wants is to use the media as the medium to, well, for us, the consumers, to develop conditional responses. That is, to buy and to use. Now the thing is that our new and improved behavior, those conditional responses, they have to be voluntary. We have to want it, we have to need it, we have to long for it. If we reject, the cycle fails. It does not work. Now, I have a question. How to make sure that this immersion into the desired behavior, into the flow of information, will be as complete as possible? Well, this task was made much more easy by a person called Raymond Loewy. Most likely you know of him, but let me give his exact quote. He told that the adult public taste is not necessarily ready to accept the logical solutions to the requirements if the solution implies too vast a departure from what they have been conditioned into accepting as the norm. And he created this principle, most advanced, yet acceptable. So let's pause here for a brief second. You see, what the business really needs are dynamic conditions that are always surprising the consumer with something new, but still relatable. And that's, my friend, our daily news, also known as content marketing. Now, I'm not saying this to criticize the media. Vice versa, I believe the media is holding up to their end of the deal. Well, they provide information in exchange for our voluntary participation in the flow of behavior-changing triggers, right? It is us who are leaving the media hanging out to dry, because we're leaving the media with just a single possible source of income. This patron who comes and gives money in order to change our behavior. Now, what can we do in such a situation? Is there a solution? Yes, there are a few solutions. But there's one solution that we can walk away. We can walk away from the media we have right now. Every government, every ministry has its own websites, and they provide with information. So there are, let's say, semi-reliable ways to know what the government is doing with your resources and your rights. Add a few bloggers to get information on the other side, to get an alternative view, and most likely you will do fine. Yeah? You will not be entertained, it will not be beautiful, it won't create the wow effect, but yeah, you will do fine. Or we can follow the path of a Dutch media outlet called The Correspondent, who presents itself as a 56,000 members strong and fiercely ad-free independent media that asks their readers to pay them for the news. So the answer to the challenges in the public versus media relationship is very, very simple. Form a new relationship. Friends, my message is simple as well. As long as time is a non-renewable resource, everything will have a price. And if there is always a price to pay, maybe we can choose a better payment conditions. Thank you.